Hey everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive from CIN News Group Podcasts. I'm Ira Lee Wenther, and I am so excited to be swinging back into action with you all today. As we take a closer look at Marvel Matters, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, episodes 3 to 5. We've got some seriously cool stuff to unpack here. So let's get right to it. Joining me today is the amazing Perkma Lordson, who's going to help us break down all the web-slinging action and hidden details.
It's great to be back, Ira. And you're right, these episodes are packed with surprises.
Okay, so right off the bat, we're hit with a major twist. Norman Osborn knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Right.
But instead of going full-on Green Goblin, he offers to upgrade Peter's suit and mentor him. What's the deal with that?
I think it's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
This Norman Osborn, at least in these episodes, is playing a delicate game. He gives Peter a version of the classic great power, great responsibility speech, but you get the sense he's not letting Peter quit Oscorp for a reason. Yeah,
it's like he's trying to mold Peter into a specific kind of hero, one that maybe aligns with his own interests.
Yeah.
What do you think about this version of Norman compared to, say, the one we saw in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films?
It's fascinating to see how different interpretations of the character can highlight different aspects of his personality.
Yeah.
The Norman in those films was much more outwardly menacing, driven by a kind of manic energy. This Norman, on the other hand, is more controlled, more calculating. He's still a powerful figure. But he exerts his influence in a subtler way. It almost makes him more dangerous.
And he's surrounded by danger, too. Speed Demon and Tarantula are running wild, causing chaos with their high-tech gear. But then we find out Dr. Octopus is the one pulling the strings from his secret lab. Talk about a villainous mastermind.
For sure.
What's Doc Ock's game here?
This Doc Ock is a fascinating take on the character. He's brilliant, ambitious, and he's got this drive to prove himself as the world's most superior human, even surpassing guys like Tony Stark. While he's working from the shadows, for now, he's clearly building towards something big.
He even name-drops Stark and Banner as rivals. But let's not forget about all the amazing new suits Peter gets to try out. Courtesy of Norman Osborn. I mean, the Hornet suit, the Dusk suit, each one seems to offer a glimpse into different aspects of Spider-Man's potential. But they also lead to some seriously funny mishaps.
It's a clever way to play with different eras of Spider-Man comics, while also reminding us that it's not the suit that makes the hero. We see Peter struggling to control these new abilities, and it's a reminder that true power comes from mastering yourself. Not just the tech you wear.
It's like he's going through a superhero identity crisis. Trying to figure out who he is under the mask. But his struggles mirror what's happening with his friend Lonnie, right?
Absolutely. Lonnie is torn between loyalty to his little brother, his dreams of playing football, and his increasing involvement with a local gang. The episode drops some pretty heavy hints that he's heading down a dark path, possibly even becoming the villain Tombstone.
Tombstone. Now that's a name that sends chills down any Spider-Man fan's spine. Can you give us a quick rundown on who Tombstone is, for those who might not be familiar with him?
Well, in the comics, Tombstone, also known as Lonnie Lincoln, starts as a bully, but eventually becomes a formidable crime lord. He's known for his strength, his ruthlessness, and those razor-sharp teeth, hence the name. He's definitely not someone you want to mess with.
So that's definitely bad news for Lonnie. And probably for Peter, too. Considering how close they are. I have a feeling things are going to get a lot more complicated for both of them, especially with Dr. Octopus lurking in the shadows.
Especially when you consider those metal gauntlets we see in Doc Ock's lab. They could be for Shocker. Or maybe even Scorpion.
Wait, are you suggesting we might actually see a Sinister Six forming in this series? That would be incredible.
The possibility is definitely there. Dr. Octopus is a master manipulator. And he's already shown he can use people to get what he wants. With so many villains already introduced, it wouldn't be difficult for him to assemble a team to take Spider-Man down.
And speaking of teams, Harry Osborn is now in on Peter's secret and wants to be part of Team Spider-Man. Sort of like Ned Leeds' role in the MCU, but with a much fancier car, right?
Exactly. Harry even drops Peter off at school in that flashy red car, just like in the comics. But it's interesting to see how they're weaving in those classic elements, while also making it feel fresh and relevant to the MCU.
And amidst all the action and teenage drama, These episodes are packed with clever details for diehard Marvel fans. You mentioned the MCU connections.
Right.
But what other Easter eggs caught your eye?
Well, there are references to everything from She-Hulk and the Daredevil series to, believe it or not, the infamous Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark Broadway show.
Yeah. Wow.
It's as if the creators are winking at the audience saying, we know our stuff and we're having fun with it.
And they're seamlessly weaving in MCU events too. From Sokovia Accords to subtle mentions of Ultron and the Hulk's rampage in Johannesburg. It's like this animated series is meticulously fitting itself into the larger MCU tapestry.
It's a testament to the interconnected nature of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
These seemingly small details help create a sense of continuity, reminding us that even the animated stories have a place in the grand scheme of things.
Okay, so we've got a potential Sinister Six, brewing a complex web of relationships.
Yeah.
And a timeline that connects to the MCU. Where does it all go from here? Any predictions?
I think it's safe to say that Peter's relationship with Norman Osborn is heading for a major turning point. Something's going to happen that will force Peter to confront the darker side of Oscorp and maybe even Norman himself. And let's not forget Nico.
Oh, great.
She's still in the dark about Peter's secret identity, but those teasers about her comic book origin and that mysterious necklace suggest she's going to play a much bigger role.
It's like we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg here.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot more going on beneath the surface.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to dive deeper into that in the next part of our discussion.
I can't wait to unpack it all with you, Ira. There's so much more to explore. It's like Peter's constantly trying to juggle his normal life with his superhero responsibilities, but the two worlds keep colliding. We see that tension play out in his internship at Oscorp, too.
Yeah, he's working with brilliant scientists like Carla Connor, and they seem genuinely passionate about their research. But there's this underlying feeling that something isn't quite right. Like Norman Osborn's influence is casting a shadow over everything.
Oscorp is a fascinating element in this series. They're creating this incredible technology that could benefit humanity. But there's also this constant pursuit of power and control.
Right.
It's reflected in Norman's desire to create weapons and even enhance Spider-Man for his own purposes.
It's like Peter is stuck in this web of conflicting loyalties.
Oh, yeah. He wants to use his powers for good, but he also feels obligated to Norman for the opportunities he's given him. And then there's Harry, who seems to be getting pulled deeper into his father's world.
The relationship between Peter and Harry is so compelling in these episodes. They're best friends, but their paths are diverging.
Right.
Peter is embracing his role as Spider-Man, while Harry is becoming more entangled with the Osborn legacy.
Yeah.
Which could lead to some serious conflict down the line.
Totally. And let's not forget about Nico.
Oh, yeah.
She's clearly into Peter, but she's also strong and independent.
Right.
You can feel the tension building as she starts to question Peter's priorities.
Yeah.
Especially in that scene where she sees him with Harry at the movies.
It's a reminder that even though these characters are dealing with supervillains and world-altering events, there's still teenagers figuring out life, friendships, and their feelings.
Which somehow makes the stakes even higher.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about saving the world, it's about protecting the people they care about.
And that brings us back to Lonnie.
His story is tragic because he's mirroring Peter's journey in a way, but he's on a much darker path.
Right.
His desire to protect his brother and succeed in football are admirable qualities, but the circumstances he's in are twisting those good intentions.
It's heartbreaking to see him get sucked deeper into the gang's world, especially knowing he might become Tombstone.
Yeah.
It raises the question of whether Peter could save him from that fate, or if it's even his place to try.
It's a moral dilemma that many heroes face. How far do you go to save someone you care about, even if it means crossing a line?
Right.
Especially if that person is on the verge of becoming a dangerous villain.
And let's not forget Dr. Octopus lurking in the background,
Oh, yeah?
building up his resources and waiting for the right moment to strike. It feels like a collision course is inevitable.
Yeah.
What do you make of all the hints and references to other potential villains like Scorpion and Chameleon? Do you think the writers are setting the stage for a much larger Spider-Man universe within this series?
It definitely feels that way. They're dropping these breadcrumbs, teasing us with glimpses of characters and storylines that could expand this world in some really exciting ways. And they're not just throwing in random references. They're doing it in a way that feels organic and connected to the larger narrative.
Speaking of those Easter eggs, were there any that stood out to you in particular? You mentioned the Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark reference earlier, which I thought was hilarious.
That one was definitely memorable considering the show's infamy, but I also appreciated the subtle nods to the MCU, like the ZCN news articles from Daredevil and Jessica Jones. Those little details help ground this animated world within the established live-action universe, making it feel like a piece of a larger puzzle.
Oh, and that visual reference to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 3, when Peter's testing out his new suit, that was a brilliant way to connect different generations of Spider-Man fans.
For sure.
Reminding us that the legacy of this character spans decades in different mediums.
Exactly. It's a nod to the history of Spider-Man while also acknowledging that the character is constantly evolving, taking on new forms, and reaching new audiences. And speaking of evolution, the animation style in this series is a perfect blend of classic comic book aesthetics and modern techniques.
Yeah, it's so vibrant and expressive.
Oh, yeah.
It captures the humor and the kinetic energy of Spider-Man, but it also has a depth and nuance that brings out the emotions of the characters.
It's a testament to the skill of the animators and the creative vision behind the series. They've managed to create a visual style that feels both familiar and fresh, honoring the legacy of Spider-Man while also pushing the boundaries of what animation can achieve.
It's like they've taken everything we love about Spider-Man, the action, the humor, the relatable characters, and elevated it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
But they're not afraid to tackle some mature themes along the way either.
That's right. These episodes deal with lost betrayal, moral dilemmas, and the weight of responsibility. They show us that being a hero isn't just about having superpowers, it's about making tough choices and dealing with the consequences.
It's a reminder that even though this is a superhero cartoon, it's still a story about real people facing real challenges.
Yeah.
Which is what makes it so relatable, even if we're not swinging through the city in high-tech suits.
Yeah.
And with the introduction of characters like Luna Snow and hints of others like Madam Web, it feels like the possibilities are endless.
Exactly. The writers are building a world that feels rich and expansive, with endless potential for new stories and adventures. And with Dr. Octopus preparing to unveil his master plan, I can't wait to see what they have in store for us next.
Well, we left off with Dr. Octopus about to make his move. What do you think he's planning? And how will Peter's growing circle of allies and enemies factor into the equation?
I think Dr. Octopus is going to play a long game here. He's not just interested in defeating Spider-Man.
Okay.
He wants to humiliate him to prove that he's the superior intellect.
So it's not just a physical battle.
Right.
It's a battle of wits.
Exactly.
He wants to outsmart Spider-Man to prove that brains are more powerful than webs.
Precisely. Yeah. And I think he'll use his knowledge of Peter's personal life, his connections to Oscorp, and his growing list of enemies to create a scenario that Peter can't escape from.
Okay, so we've got a brilliant villain with a chip on his shoulder, a hero caught in a web of his own making, and a whole city on the verge of chaos. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think the key is to look at the patterns that are emerging. Dr. Octopus seems to be targeting individuals who have been wronged or overlooked by society, offering them power and a chance for revenge.
He's not just building a team.
Right.
He's exploiting their vulnerabilities.
Exactly.
Manipulating them to serve his agenda.
Yeah.
That's cold-blooded.
Yeah.
But it's also classic supervillain strategy.
Exactly. And if he's successful in assembling a Sinister Six, it's going to take more than just web slinging and witty comebacks for Spider-Man to overcome this challenge. He's going to have to dig deep, rely on his friends, and maybe even confront some hard truths about himself and his place in the world.
We've covered so much ground already, from high-tech gadgets and epic battles to the complexities of friendship betrayal and the eternal struggle between good and evil.
It feels like every episode is adding another layer to this already intricate tapestry, and it makes you wonder how the writers are going to keep it all from becoming too overwhelming.
Right, with all these interconnected plot lines and potential villains, where do you think the story goes next? What's the overall direction?
Well, I think the key is balance. They've done a fantastic job of introducing a diverse cast of characters, both heroes and villains, while keeping the focus on Peter's personal journey and his internal struggles.
So they're building a world, not just a series of episodes. And within that world, there's this underlying tension, a sense that something bigger is brewing.
Exactly. We have the personal dramas, the superhero action, and then these subtle hints about a larger force at play. Like the way Norman keeps talking about needing to protect the world from threats like Thanos and Ultron. It's as if he's positioning himself as the ultimate protector, even if it means bending the rules.
Which brings us back to that question about Norman's true intentions. Is he really trying to guide Peter, or is he manipulating him for some hidden purpose? It's like he's playing chess with everyone's lives.
It's a question that keeps coming up, and the answer is never clear-cut. That's what makes this version of Norman so compelling. He's not a one-dimensional villain, he's a complex character with his own motivations and desires.
Okay, before we wrap up, I have to ask, Were there any other Easter eggs or references that really stood out to you? We've touched on a few already, but I'm sure there are more hidden gems we missed.
There's one detail that caught my attention. Remember that scene in Nico's room where we see a picture of her parents? They mention she's living with a foster family, implying something happened to them.
Yeah, and that her parents are from another country, which adds to the mystery.
Well, in the comics, Nico's parents have a very specific background. They're powerful sorcerers, and their legacy plays a huge role in her journey to becoming a superhero.
Whoa, are you suggesting that magic could be introduced into this world? That would be a game changer.
It's definitely a possibility, and if it happens, it could open up a whole new dimension to the series, both literally and figuratively. Imagine Spider-Man battling mystical threats alongside a magically empowered Nico.
Now that you mention it, it does seem like they're setting the stage for something beyond just the typical super science and tech we've seen so far.
Exactly. And it wouldn't be the first time magic and science have collided in the Marvel Universe.
So we've got potential for a Sinister Six, the mystery of Nico's heritage, and now the possibility of magic entering the mix. Anything else we should be watching out for?
Don't forget about that strange alien creature from the first episode, the symbiote. It disappeared after the fight with the living laser, but symbiotes are a major part of Spider-Man lore, and I have a feeling its return is going to shake things up.
A symbiote-powered villain would be incredibly powerful, and with Peter already struggling to balance his life, it could push him to the breaking point.
It's all building towards something big, and we're just along for the ride at this point.
This has been an incredible deep dive, Perkma. We've explored the tangled webs of friendship rivalry and superhero responsibility, uncovered hidden agendas and Easter eggs, and glimpsed the potential for an epic showdown that could change everything.
It's been a pleasure joining you, Ira. These episodes are packed with so much depth and intrigue. I can't wait to see where the story goes next.
And for those of you listening, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What are your predictions for the upcoming episodes? Which villains do you think will join Dr. Octopus's Sinister Six? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the amazing world of pop culture.